Well, I've known Trump for a long time.
Right.
And I think people can make up their own minds about whether he's diagnosable or not.
At 74, Dr. Phil finally admits how much he hates her. Questions about his relationship with this mystery woman have sparked much speculation, leaving the public confused. Who is this mystery woman? What is the reason he hates her? How does this revelation affect Dr. Phil's personal life and show business? Let's find out. Before we get into this, let's learn a little about Dr. Phil to see what shaped his views. On a gloomy September day, news spread that Phil McGraw's wife, Anne, had given birth to a healthy baby boy. Joseph McGraw Jr., the McGraw's first child. Phil's joy knew no bounds, especially considering the hardships surrounding the child's birth. Phil McGraw, who would go on to become one of America's most renowned psychiatrists, was born on September 1, 1950, in Veneta, Oklahoma. As the only son in the family, Phil was especially loved by his father, which created warm memories of his childhood. He had two older sisters, Donna and Deanna, with whom he spent many precious moments of his childhood. Then Brenda, a fourth sister, was born, and the McGraw family grew even larger. With their father working in the oil industry supplying equipment, the McGraw family spent their early years in the oil fields of North Texas. From the age of 13, Phil worked at A&W Root Beer and at a pizza place called Pizza Planet in Oklahoma City to help support the family. Phil's mother, Anne, was a stay-at-home mom who didn't make much money, which forced his father to work harder to make ends meet as the family grew. The McGraw family then moved to Kansas, and Joseph decided to pursue his dream of becoming a psychologist. There, Phil attended Shawnee Mission North High School in Overland Park, Kansas. During his time at school, he not only studied hard, but also actively participated in extracurricular activities, especially sports. In a short time, Phil became one of the most beloved and anticipated students at the school, making his parents extremely proud of their son. On the school's football team, Phil played the position of linebacker. In 1968, he won a football scholarship to the University of Tulsa, where he continued to play linebacker under coach Glenn Dobbs. Unfortunately, on November 23rd of that year, Phil's team suffered a heavy defeat against the University of Houston with a score of 100-6, one of the most lopsided games in college football history. After that season, he transferred to Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls, Texas, where he graduated in 1975 with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, beginning his journey toward a career in psychology that he had always dreamed of. However, Phil was not satisfied with his academic performance and decided to pursue higher education. He enrolled at the University of North Texas, now known as the University of North Texas, and in 1975 he received a master's degree in experimental psychology. 3 years later, in 1978, Phil graduated with a doctorate in clinical psychology. His dissertation, titled Rheumatoid Arthritis, a Psychological Intervention, reflected his deep interest in the connection between psychology and physical health. After graduating from the University of Texas, his title was changed from Phil to Dr. Phil, emphasizing his impressive academic credentials. Dr. Phil then completed a year of postdoctoral training, specializing in forensic psychology at the Wilmington Institute. Interestingly, his PhD advisor, Frank Lawless, later became a key psychologist and important contributor to the popular TV show Dr. Phil, bringing a lot of useful psychological knowledge and advice to the audience. Keep watching as we step into all you need to know about his career. After receiving his doctorate, Dr. Phil moved to Wichita Falls, Texas, to reunite with his father, Joseph McGraw, who had fulfilled his dream of becoming a psychologist and even established his psychology laboratory. Dr. Phil inherited one outstanding quality from his father: hard work and perseverance. Joseph McGraw was determined to pursue a career in psychology, despite his age, and never let difficulties stop him from realizing his dreams and aspirations. In 1985, Dr. Phil and his father partnered with Thelma Box, a Texas businesswoman, to organize self-help seminars called Pathways. Dr. Phil participated in this program for 5 years, before deciding to sell his shares in 1991 for $325,000. In 1999, Dr. Phil published his first book, Life Strategies, marking the beginning of his writing career. Over the next 6 years, he went on to publish 3 more relationship books: Relationship Rescue, Self Matters, and Family First. In addition to writing books, Dr. Phil also co-wrote numerous articles for popular newspapers and websites such as WebMD and USA Today. A year before officially leaving his partnership with Thelma Box, Dr. Phil co-founded Courtroom Sciences, Inc., a trial consulting company with attorney Gary Dobbs. The company conducts mock trials in mock courtrooms, where Dr. Phil advises on aspects of the case the attorney is handling, as well as points out areas that need improvement. Dr. Phil is no longer an officer or director of the company. The television series Bull was inspired by his background as a trial consultant, and he is also credited as one of the creators of the show. He then teamed up with Oprah Winfrey and began working through CSI, which led to a paradigm shift in his career. Oprah Winfrey became interested in legal counsel and assigned them to assist her in preparing for the Amarillo, Texas beef trial. Winfrey later expressed her deep gratitude to Dr. Phil for his active role in her success in that case, which ended in 1998. She later invited him to appear on her television show. Dr. Phil no longer serves as an officer or director at Courtroom Sciences, Inc. His journey continued to expand when the television series Bull was released, inspired by his career as a trial counsel. He is also credited as one of the creators of the show. Dr. Phil then had the opportunity to work with Oprah Winfrey, a major influencer in the media industry. She assigned Dr. Phil to assist her in preparing for the beef trial in Amarillo, Texas. With his help and advice, Oprah won the case, for which she expressed deep gratitude to Dr. Phil. The trial ended in 1998, and Oprah subsequently invited him to appear on her popular television show, opening a new chapter in Dr. Phil's career and further enhancing his reputation in the fields of psychology and communications. Dr. Phil's debut received positive reviews, leading to him becoming a regular life and relationship strategist on The Oprah Winfrey Show on Tuesdays in 1998. He continued to appear on Oprah for the next few years, but felt the need to have his show to gain independence and make money. So in September 2002, Dr. Phil founded Patesky Productions and launched a daily television program called The Dr. Phil TV Show, produced with the support of Oprah's Harpo Studios. The goal of the show was to provide advice to viewers, with Dr. Phil exploring a new topic in each episode and mentoring his guests. He then signed a 5-year broadcasting deal with King World Productions, a prominent show distributor, which guaranteed him an annual payment of $15 million and ensured that the show would continue to air from 2013 to 2014. Sadly, however, this was also the last time Dr. Phil saw his father. He shared a shocking story about his relationship with Joseph McGraw, his father, saying that he never heard his father say that he was proud of him or compliment him on any of his accomplishments. But something special happened the last night he spoke to Joseph. His father predicted Dr. Phil's success just 24 hours before he died. On Oprah's Soul Conversation, Dr. Phil recounted his father's words about his future success, noting, "There will come a day when you have the opportunity to speak to many people." Dr. Phil was able to commit these remarks to memory, and they remained with him for a considerable amount of time. Even though his father never praised his attempts to achieve success while he was still alive, he stated that his parting words not only predicted his future achievement, but also served as a substitute for all the times he needed to receive a message of congratulations, or at the very least a pat on the back from his father. In 2007, Dr. Phil was listed 13th on the list of the top 100 celebrities by Forbes. In the same year, Nielsen Media Research stated that Dr. Phil had an audience of 6.69 million, which placed it 4th in the ratings. It is interesting to note that after 1 year, the show fell to 6th position with a total viewership of 5.69 million people. The Oprah Winfrey program was the only talk program that even came close to surpassing Dr. Phil in terms of viewership during this time period. As of the 11th of December in 2018, the show had acquired the position of being the most popular syndicated program. It had received a nationwide Nielsen rating of 2.9 Live plus Same, and it had maintained the top place among other shows for the 117th week in a row. His reputation continued to rise, and by the year 2020, he was rated 22nd on the Forbes list that was stated before. with profits totaling $75 million. On November 23rd, Dr. Phil announced that he would be launching a new television network under the name of Merit Street Media, which would be situated in Fort Worth. The network would mostly focus on news and actual crime programs, and the show that would lead the network would be Dr. Phil Primetime, which would be the successor to the Dr. Phil series. It's interesting to note that the Merit series debuted on April 24th the previous day, taking part in charitable activities. In addition to his work as a psychologist and as a personality on television, Dr. Phil's passion for the public's health in the medical field led him to see the need to extend charitable acts to others. In the midst of a global epidemic that stopped people from coming out of their homes in search of hospitals or pharmacies, he was able to think creatively and provided financial support to a foundation that was of great assistance in providing medical services. This foundation was established at what time? Who or what prompted this? And how was he able to fulfill the unending requirements of people all across the world in terms of their medical circumstances? Dr. Phil came up with the concept of establishing the Doctor on Demand Foundation, a healthcare firm, in the year 2012, which is when everything got started. Individuals are able to plan virtual appointments with a network of physical therapists and medical professionals through the use of this internet platform. It was in 2014 that he decided to establish a web and mobile service after he pondered the prospect that this foundation may continue to function even during a worldwide catastrophe. According to American Broadcasting Corporation News, the primary objective of the organization was to offer services that were associated with the administration of medications, preventative care, physical health, and mental health. As of the year 2015, the organization has a network of around 11,000 physicians that were board certified. During the worldwide pandemic outbreak caused by the coronavirus, the corporation boosted its transmission rate in March 2020 and increased the number of therapists it employed to accommodate the growing number of patients who sought medical assistance. It is important to note that Dr. Phil needs assistance to do this task. Jay McGraw and Adam Jackson's efforts were the driving force behind the success and accomplishments recorded by the organization. His son, Jay McGraw, served as the chief executive officer of the firm, which provided services such as wellness programs, mental health services, chronic disease management, and virtual medical visits. The guidance and approaches that Dr. Phil provides, on the other hand, have been subject to criticism from both professional psychotherapists and non-experts. There are many who believe that his guidance is, at best, overly simple, and at worst, either ineffectual or dangerous. On one of Dr. Phil's broadcasts, the National Alliance on Mental Illness even said that his behavior was extremely reckless and unethical. Contrary to expectations, rumors circulated that the founders of this firm were out to take advantage of individuals rather than help them with their medical issues. What was the claim's validity? Dr. Phil remarked in an interview with the Sun Sentinel in 2001 that he has always been dissatisfied with conventional therapy. "I am not the hush puppies pipe, and let's talk about your mother kind of psychologist," he would remark, before moving on to a more contemporary method that would involve more than simply seeing one client at a time in an office. Because many people with mental health issues choose to stay silent rather than seek treatment, Dr. Phil often encourages viewers to consult a professional, particularly in the form of psychotherapy. In a surprising finding, researchers at Ohio State University discovered in 2006 that after witnessing Dr. Phil expertly manage mental health difficulties, viewers were more inclined to seek professional help for themselves and their children. This phenomenon, according to the study, is due to viewers' propensity to form an imaginative connection with Dr. Phil while watching the show, which in turn increases their faith in the beneficial effects of medical consultations. It is worth mentioning that with the founding of this firm, a greater number of persons, regardless of age, who were quietly dealing with mental sadness and solitude, were able to seek help without the fear of prejudice. But the Dr. Phil program has stopped, and the public and media are wondering what the big deal was about the show's cancellation, even though it was successful for almost 20 years. What could have possibly led to the abrupt conclusion of such an engaging, informative, and entertaining program? Find out by continuing to watch. The Dr. Phil Show will not be performed. Just when things were looking well for the program on a global, medical, financial, and economic scale, cancellation news broke. A lot of people were disappointed by this news, especially the fans who had become accustomed to saving the date for the program and who would never miss an episode or any conversation around it. This brings us to the question, why? Dr. Phil announced the show's termination in 2023, citing his desire to pursue new endeavors as the main cause, according to the Columbia Broadcasting System. Everyone knew that Dr. Phil had ended the program for personal reasons after his statement put an end to speculations that he was compelled to do so by financial or legal concerns. Based on the information that has been obtained, Dr. Phil decided to focus on other ventures that match his interests and ambitions, rather than his long-running daytime network talk program. In addition, it came to light that Dr. Phil had secretly planned to leave the talk show and pursue another career trajectory with a close business colleague a few years before his public confirmation. Another story circulated that the show's cancellation was his wife's doing, but Dr. Phil put an end to that idea by making it very plain that his wife has been there for him at every stage of his talk show career, offering him comfort and support. Because she considered the program as his small way of helping the people without expecting anything in return, she hoped he would never terminate it. The media will stop at nothing to establish the veracity of their viewpoint, therefore this accusation persisted even when Dr. Phil sought to clear his wife's name. Despite this, Dr. Phil continued to make the statement at the conclusion of the show that he felt forced to interact with a more extensive audience simply due to the fact that he had significant worries for the American family and was resolved to assist in the restoration of our reason for living and our fundamental principles. The fact that Dr. Phil referred to his deep concern for the American family gave the impression that he intended to redirect his attention toward tackling urgent social concerns and the dynamics of families on a more comprehensive scale. Because network television is gradually losing its appeal to streaming services, Dr. Phil probably believed that he might reach a more extensive audience. The program was influenced in what ways by his own life? Because of the growing popularity of the Dr. Phil program, his personal life has become a topic of discussion among both fans and detractors. It was not uncommon for his work life to collide with his marriage to Robin McGraw, who was also a renowned person in her own right. The viewers gradually developed an interest in the intricacies of their relationship, which resulted in the show incorporating a distinctive combination of personal and professional themes. As a result of the speculation that has surrounded the decision to stop the Dr. Phil program, concerns have been made regarding whether or not personal family difficulties had a factor. The pressures of sustaining a great career can put a strain on personal relationships, which can lead to possible problems that may have led to the conclusion of the program. The general public is left wondering how much of this cancellation was affected by the duties that Dr. Phil has with regard to his roles as a husband and parent. For both his personal and professional journeys, Dr. Phil has relied heavily on the assistance of Robin McGraw. Her impact has spread beyond the confines of the home and into the realm of public discourse as a result of her role as a co-founder of the Dr. Phil Foundation. Speculation says that her opinions and sentiments over the direction the show is taking and the influence it would have on their family life may have played a role in the decision to cancel the performance. Concerning the cancellation, what were the responses of the viewers? When it was announced that the Dr. Phil program would be cancelled, people immediately responded in a flood of different ways. Shock and sadness were expressed by a large number of people, while others shared their comments on social media. It was difficult for viewers of the show to come to terms with the fact that it would no longer be a daytime television mainstay after such a lengthy run, and several of them questioned the rationale for such a huge shift. Concerns have been raised over the future of Dr. Phil's professional life as a result of the cancellation of his program, which was caused by his wife, as well as other underlying causes. Will he switch to a different format, or will he take a step back to concentrate on his personal life? There is no doubt that the cancellation of such a prominent program creates an impression, and many people are interested to see how Dr. Phil will handle this change. There is a question that raises itself as viewers contemplate the decision to cancel the Dr. Phil show. Where do you see Dr. Phil and Robin McGraw going from here? The future of the marriage is unknown, even though they have a well-known brand, a large number of initiatives, and an extensive list of charitable activities. people will still be quite curious to see what they do next, whether it's trying out new forms of television or concentrating on their projects. Is there any chance of working together again? The interaction between Dr. Phil and Robin has consistently been one of mutual assistance and cooperation. As they progress, fans are curious about the possibility of future projects involving the two of them, whether it be on television or elsewhere. Outside of daytime television, they may find intriguing prospects thanks to their interests and experiences. However, Dr. Phil's battle with illness will be revealed in the following section of this film. Dr. Phil McGraw, a talk show presenter and former licensed psychologist, has helped many individuals overcome obstacles such as bullying, substance misuse, despair, and domestic violence. But he has been struggling with his health problem, which is type 2 diabetes, for several years. Dr. Manny Alvarez, the senior managing health editor of FoxNews.com, recently had a conversation with McGraw in which he discussed his struggle with the condition and how he was able to overcome the psychological obstacles that are associated with managing it. As a response, Dr. Phil stated that there is a psychological mentality toward this condition in which many believe that you get it by being lazy, being slovenly, eating poorly, or not being authentic. In addition to being quite athletic and active, I worked out quite a bit. It is important to note that there is a large hereditary component to this, and I believe that individuals need to get over the guilt that comes along with that. African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans, Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, and the elderly are more likely to be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, as stated by the American Diabetes Association. It is interesting to note that Dr. Phil experienced this sickness himself, and as a result, he made the decision to collaborate with AstraZeneca and their national campaign, the On It movement, in order to encourage people to take action against this disease. 1 in every 3 people in the United States has this diagnosis or is at risk of receiving it. Consequently, the goal that we have set for ourselves here is to increase people's knowledge of it. According to him, when McGraw was diagnosed with the condition 25 years ago, he sat down with his physician to discuss devising a treatment plan that would be suitable for him and his way of life. I used to be one of those men who would work, and then, after that, I would not consume anything. And then, after the day was over, I would gorge myself on everything and everything. His physician advised him to begin spreading it out, maintain that blood sugar level, and make some adjustments to his way of life. Therefore, he started looking at the sickness from the perspective of what might be done to address the problem, including things that could be done mentally, behaviorally, and in other ways. Diabetes type 2 is the most prevalent form of the disease, and it manifests itself when your body is unable to create or retain glucose sugar appropriately. The accumulation of glucose in the blood, rather than its entry into cells to be utilized as a source of energy, can be the result of this. You may get significant complications in your eyes, kidneys, nerves, or heart if you have high blood glucose levels for some time. The early symptoms of type 2 diabetes include exhaustion, increased appetite and thirst, frequent urination, hazy vision, and sluggish healing of wounds and bruises. Although not all individuals acquire symptoms at the beginning of the disease, some of the early markers include these. Many people with type 2 may control their blood glucose levels with good nutrition and regular exercise. While insulin and medication are still options, you need to arm yourself with knowledge and form a group, McGraw admonished. You need a nutritionist to teach you about food, of course, but the doctor is the hub of that team. Involvement from your spouse and those around you is essential if you want their support for your goals. The first step toward a longer, healthier life for the approximately 28 million Americans living with type 2 diabetes is to make a plan and adhere to it. Being accountable and organized is necessary for sticking to a plan once you've made one. Seriously, however, when you finish that, it becomes the norm for you. He explained that he doesn't dwell on the matter every day since his life is structured to accommodate it. For parents, what does Dr. Phil have to say? Dr. Phil McGraw paused during his historic February 26, 2024, visit to The View to reminisce on the incredible 21-season run of his groundbreaking program. Dr. Phil used this episode to talk about the difficulties of parenting in the digital age, which is a big problem for modern families, rather than just reminiscing about the show's earlier successes. It is important to listen to Dr. Phil's advice now, since the impact of social media on young brains is enormous. Speaking with the clarity and wisdom that have made him an inspiration to many, he voiced his worries about the widespread influence of social media on young people. Given the challenges and stresses that parents face while trying to manage their children's online personas, this discussion is vital. If you are a parent who wants to help your children develop good habits online, you should watch Dr. Phil's advice segment on The View. He stresses the significance of being aware of and involved in children's digital lives and calls for a smart approach to social media. More than simply a retrospective of Dr. Phil's influential career is on offer on this episode of The View. In this digital day, it's a rallying cry for parents. If you want to know how to handle the challenges of modern parenting, this is a must-watch. In conclusion, Dr. Phil's wealth kept growing and was most recently estimated at over $460 million, even after the Dr. Phil show was cancelled and he had health problems. Even though the program was his main source of revenue, Dr. Phil was still active in other extraneous activities, his love life, and the controversy. It became public knowledge following the launch of his shows that the popular TV personality had a rocky relationship with women. Some individuals who thought highly of him began to question their assumptions as rumors spread about his romantic life. Dr. Phil McGraw began dating Debbie Higgins, a fellow TV program host, in 1970 when he was around 20 years old. While they were courting, Debbie saw signs of cheating from her fiancé. Still, she disregarded them, thinking that once they were married, Dr. Phil would take responsibility. After a few months of planning, the couple tied the knot and officially became husband and wife. This was the start of a new chapter for Debbie, but we don't think Dr. Phil felt the same way. The marriage was in disarray, and rumors circulated that Dr. Phil had compelled Debbie to stay at home and limit her social life. Debbie used one of the interviews to vent to the media about her marriage, saying that her husband was very controlling and that he wouldn't let her have a say in the family company. Dr. Phil's sudden shift in demeanor at home, in contrast to his sunny disposition on camera, has been the subject of much speculation, and her admission has only served to fuel the fire. In addition, Debbie said that she was forced to perform housework and was told to start lifting weights to boost her bust line. She made her accusations of adultery against her husband known to the world, making it apparent that she had seen his behavior toward women during their courting, but chose to ignore it in the hopes that he would change once they were married. But it turned out the other way around, since he persisted in cheating. Debbie filed for a divorce in 1973 as a result of the constant arguments in the marriage, and the decision was made the same year. Their marital history and divorce revealed that Dr. Phil, a TV host known for exposing several cheating spouses on his program for more than 21 seasons, was secretly doing the same thing to his wife. He began seeing Robin Jo Jameson, whom he would later marry a year after his divorce. Their relationship had two wonderful children, Jordan McGraw and Jay McGraw. Because she shared her husband's commitment to mentoring and encouraging others, Robin and her husband became frequent faces on the show. Robin also became known for her counsel to women. Nevertheless, a controversy ensued. The allegations started circulating that Dr. Phil had secretly divorced his wife and begun staying with Oprah when some people noted how close he was to her. Some even went as far as saying that he had a secret affair with her. During their heated dispute and subsequent social media controversy, Dr. Phil went on Fox News to openly state that Oprah is one of his closest friends and that he values her friendship because of how honest they are with one another. He went on to deny rumors that he had secretly divorced his wife, claiming that he knew many were anticipating the end of his second marriage. But he still thinks his marriage to Robin is going to be great, that it was the nicest thing that had happened to him. Their marriage spans more than 30 years and they are still together today. Not only did Dr. Phil's health and program take a hit due to the relationship controversy, but he also dealt with a slew of legal disputes. To avoid any more problems or harassment, Dr. Phil and his wife chose to stay off social media following this incident. It has been speculated, but not confirmed, that Dr. Phil and his son Jay recently discussed Dr. Phil's intentions to divorce Robin. What do you think about this? Do you believe that Dr. Phil was truly secretly having an affair with Oprah? And was his wife Robin the main reason for the cancellation of the Dr. Phil show? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more interesting updates. Thank you and see you in the next